Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
We're going to talk about sports in today's program. These are kinds of athletic activities that you can do to feel fit, to compete with other people. And, of course, people in Taiwan love sports. If you're in the UK, you'll just call it sport. You won't put an S on the end. But we're talking about sports here, which could include baseball, basketball, football, hockey, etc. But we're going to talk about a rather unusual sport that Taiwan happens to be really good at, and it's tug of war. Maybe you've heard of it.
I've heard of it. We used to play it when I was in elementary school. I don't know about you, Tom, but we would go on recess, and usually it would be one class against another class, and the rope would be really, really long. Little kids aren't very strong, but it was fun. Usually if we ever divided into boys and girls, of course, the boys always killed us. Because they're stronger. But yeah, it was fun. But I didn't know they did this at a competitive level, meaning it's actually in some sort of game that's publicized and adults participate. So it's kind of fun. It was fun, especially if we had some mud. It had rained and we were doing tug of war in the mud because then everybody got dirty too. So yeah, tug of war is pretty popular around the world. But you don't usually hear about it in terms of being a competitive sport like this. So it's kind of fun to find out about this.
Well, again, it's a competitive sport, and of course, teams from Taiwan tend to do very well in international competitions. Baha, I believe, is the Chinese for this term. Tug of war. You're having a war by tugging or pulling on a rope. Let's find out what this is all about. Let's listen to the entire contents of our lesson now one time. Have you ever witnessed the exciting sight of a tug-of-war match? As two teams pull a rope with all their strength, their faces show determination and the tension is intense. This ancient sport, steeped in history and rich in cultural significance, has attracted audiences for centuries. Tug of war, as the name suggests, involves two teams pulling a rope in opposite directions. Played by various cultures around the world, the sport has been incorporated into rituals, celebrations, and even warfare. Over time, it evolved from a simple contest of strength to a highly organized and competitive event. Modern tug-of-war competitions follow strict rules. Each team consists of 8 players and 2 substitutes, with the total weight not going over the set limit for their category. Strategies involve coordinating movements, maintaining balance, and effectively using body weight. The winning team is the one that can pull the rope past a marked point within the time limit. In the 2024 World Indoor Tug-of-War Championships held in Sweden, Taiwan won an impressive 3 gold medals, demonstrating its dominance in various weight categories. Moreover, Taiwan has secured the hosting right for the 2026 championships, which will be held in New Taipei City. It promises to be an unforgettable event for both athletes and audiences alike.
Okay, guys, let's dive in. Let's take a look at the title here. Tug of war is what we're calling this particular game or sport or sports. Here, it's a battle of strength and strategy. It's not just about who has the biggest muscles, right? There is some strategy involved, and strategy is when you get together and you make plans about how you're going to win something. Usually, you have strategy, plans, and business. Of course, if you're in a war, militaries will have strategies. It's a plan of action that they come up with or design that's supposed to achieve their goal or their aim. So it's a battle of both muscles and brains, you could say.
You certainly could say that, and we're asking this question right off. Have you ever witnessed this particular sport? Have you ever witnessed the exciting sight of a tug-of-war match? I should mention the word match here is usually used when we talk about two teams competing against each other. If you want to call it a game, you need to have a ball involved, like a basketball game, a baseball game, we say football match.
Except for tennis, because we use tennis match and there's a ball.
That's right. There is a ball there.
Yeah.
So I guess you have to learn them individually.
Sorry about that, guys.
You wouldn't say a tug-of-war game, though. That sounds kind of weird. But a match would pit two teams against each other. And as two teams pull a rope with all their strength, their faces show determination, and the tension is intense. So that's probably an attractive feature to or of tug-of-war. Their faces will show that determination. If you have determination, that means you're not going to give up until you get what you want. You could also say you are determined to do something. I'm determined to travel to Europe next year. I'm not going to let anybody stop me. I'm going. I've had this dream all my life. I'm determined to go. And here they have this determination. And, of course, they have this determination, these serious expressions on their face. And the tension is intense. Interesting kind of rhyme there. The tension is intense. Intense here just means to a high degree, something that is very forceful, it's very noticeable, and there's a lot of energy involved.
Yeah, now here, the tension, it can be used in different ways. Here we're talking about that rope being stretched really tight as well, right? It's not just the feelings of there being tension between the two sides, both wanting to win very badly, but that rope is stretched really tight as it's pulled in both directions. I wanted to mention this word determination. If you're looking for a synonym that's a little bit harder for determined, the adjective, it would be resolute. If someone's resolute, they're very determined. They have a lot of purpose and they have a great desire to succeed in whatever they're taking on. Now, this is an ancient sport. It's been around for many years. It's steeped in history. So there's a lot of history to this particular game. And there's a lot of cultural significance as well. If something's rich in something, there's a lot of it in it. And it's attracted audiences for centuries. Of course, century is 100 years. So we're talking about something that's been around for a long time.
Right, and remember, an audience is composed of different people, so you can't refer to the individuals as audiences, but if you talk about different groups gathered to see different competitions at different times, then those would be different audiences. The audience tonight, the audience tomorrow, the audience in Kaohsiung, etc., etc. Now, here in the next paragraph, it says, tug of war, as the name suggests, involves two teams pulling a rope in opposite directions. Okay, so one team pulls one direction and then the other team pulls the opposite direction. That's what opposite means, just the complete other side. We talk about opposites with adjectives: tall, short, fat, thin, young, old, etc. Those are opposites. So here they're just going in different directions.
I wanted to mention this word tug is a verb we use when we're talking about pulling something kind of very suddenly and with a lot of force. So maybe you grew up and you had pigtails or ponytails that a lot of little girls have growing up. A ponytail is one ponytail on the back of your head usually, and pigtails would be two, and one's on one side, one's on the other. If you had kind of, a naughty boy sitting behind you, he would often tug on that hair. So you can tug. You can also tug your boots off, tug off your boots, but it's a quick pull. And if you've watched Tug of War, you kind of want to get the other team off balance, right? Because then they kind of fall, and then you have more strength on your side. So the Tug of War is a great name for this particular game. So it involves the two teams pulling a rope, and they're going in opposite directions. So opposite is the other side of whatever you're talking about. Maybe you have a friend and you have opposite opinions. You have a position that can't be any further away from hers than yours. Or maybe the opposite color of black is white, although some people say those aren't colors. I disagree. So you can have opposite sides of the street. So that would be the 对面, so opposite side. Here, you're going to pull that rope, but you're both trying to pull in opposite directions. One's going north and one's going south, or one's going east and one's going west.
Exactly. So that's how the game works, and played by various cultures around the world. The sport has been incorporated into rituals, celebrations, and even warfare. So it's been incorporated, it's been included in various rituals. It could be some sort of cultural ritual where they're having some sort of celebration or some kind of dance. Maybe they're dancing to bring rain or something, and then they incorporate or use this particular activity as part of those rituals. It could also be celebrations. If somebody has defeated somebody else in war, maybe they will have a tug of war as a way to celebrate. And they are even used in warfare. I'm not quite sure how that would work. If you want to destroy your enemy, you could say, well, why don't you send 10 guys over here and we'll have a game of, tug of war, and whoever loses has to lose the war. I don't think it's going to be that simple, but maybe it's some sort of weapon or something. Maybe they tug on a rope to make a rock fly through the air or something like that.
I don't know. I can't even imagine. So over time, it gradually changed. So we're using that verb to evolve, to gradually change over time. It evolved from a simple contest of strength to a highly organized and competitive event. And that's what we're seeing today. When I was young, it was just kind of casual, recess, let's have a tug of war. And the kids would get together and it was kind of very casual. But if something's very organized or highly organized, there's a lot of planning involved. And now we're talking about this event where teams from different countries even get together and compete. If something's competitive, it just means it's related to some sort of competition. So there's a lot of desire from people who are participating to be more successful than the other people and to win if possible.
Yep, so again, if it's competitive, that means people are competing for something. They're involved in some sort of contest or some sort of game. You can use it if you're talking about sports, but you could also use it in life in general. You have to compete with other people for specific jobs, for example. If a job opens up at a company and it's a job that lots of people would like to have, there is a lot of competition. And, of course, the people who want to get those jobs could be competitors with each other. And, again, this is a competitive event, an event or a sport in which two teams play against each other in order to win. Somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. Okay, we're at the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Let's take a break and listen now to our Chinese teacher.
听众朋友大家好，我是安娜。我们今天要带大家来看一篇课漏字，可是主题很好玩哦，是拔河 tug of war。这个 tug of war 的 tug 啊，其实就是强拉的意思。那我们听到拔河，大概就会想到景美女中，对不对？世界冠军。好，但今天不是要介绍景美女中啦，今天要介绍一下拔河比赛。当然，第一段就会描述一下拔河比赛的刺激、紧张的场面。不过这个第一段呢，一开始的主题句啊，这个中文呢，我们看到的是一个问号，英文也是哦。其实作者是用一个问句来引入大家对于这个内容的想象。那当然拔河我们从小就拔到大啦，对不对？两队啊全力的拉扯。那其实这个拔河它的历史是很悠久的，已经办了几百年了这个运动。好，那我们在第一段当中啊，我们先特别注意一下第二句哦。第二句的第一个这个 as 这个字首的 as，因为后面有一个动词 pull 的关系，所以它是连接词。根据上下文我们推断，其实它是 when 当什么什么时候，所以当大家开始拔的时候，现场这个气氛很紧张。不过因为我们说啊，这个已经拔了好多年嘛，这是很悠久的历史。那么就来到我们第一题哦。第一题在第一段的第三句，这边特别注意一下，因为像这种文法题啊，其实学测至少会考一题，而且蛮常考动词的一种变化。所以我们要看懂原本的句子，其实主词是 this ancient sport 这个古老的运动，逗点之后到第一题的逗点，这边是一个插入的简化的关系子句。所以如果还原的话，我们把 which was 或者是 which is 都可以代表它 be dipped in， 也就是深植于历史当中。这个 steep 它有浸在什么什么里面的意思，所以一直浸在历史，也就是历史很悠久之意。 但是其实它动词都没有出现呢，因为这个关系子句的简化 steep 是一个 PP 过去分词，所以第一格我们要选一个整句话的动词，那这个动词不可能是 B 啊，也不可能是 D 的选项，到底是 A 还是 C 呢？关键就在整个句子最后面的 for centuries， for 加上一段时间，已经好几百年咯，我们用现在完成式，所以第一题答案要选 C。 当然我们接下来第二段呢就会提到说，为什么叫做拔河啊，然后它的简短历史说明一下。那我们在第二段这边呢稍微就看到了，就是顾名思义嘛，就是拔河啊，反正两队呢相反的方向拉一条绳子，而且其实这个运动在世界各地不同文化都有看见哦，不管是用于仪式啦、庆典，甚至在战争都可以出现这个拔河这个运动。那么当然随着世界这个我们时间的演进啊，现在就变成是一项 sport， 一个 competitive event。 不过我们在第二段有一些文法或者是句型不能放过，比如说在第二段的第一句逗点之后的 as the name suggests， 在这里的 as 连接词就是如同好像之意哦，所以我们复习一下，刚才第一段第二句说第一个字的 as 是 when， 在英文当中 as 当连接词的时候可能有三个意思， when because 或者是如同好像，那你就看上下文的意思。那么接下来呢，看到同样是第二段的第一句，逗点之后的 involve 这个动词啊，中间的字根 volve 我们把它抓出来，其实它有滚啊转啊的意思，所以前面加了字首 in involve 就有滚啊转进来。那同样在这一段第三句逗点之后的 it evolved， 这个 evolve 的前面字首的 e 有 out 转出去，所以它会有进展之意。所以这一段当中呢，我们注意了一个 as 当连接词的用法，还有这个单字字根 volve 转或者是滚之意，它会发展成 involve 包含有什么什么意思，甚至是 evolve 展开演变演进的意思。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. It's our sports unit, and we're talking about tug of war. When you have two sides and two different teams pulling on a long piece of rope and trying to pull the other side across a particular line that they set up before the competition starts. So tug of war can be a lot of fun. You don't need much equipment, of course. And you honestly, if you're just doing this casually, don't need a lot of training. It's good to have some really strong people on your side if you want to win. But we're talking about tug of war at a level where they actually have strategy involved.
Exactly. And of course, if you want to have strategy, you're going to have to train for that. Well, here in the third paragraph, it says, modern tug of war competitions follow strict rules. Okay, you can't just pick up a rope and start pulling on it. There are rules for these particular games. For example, each team consists of 8 players and 2 substitutes. So to consist of just means you have these things as part of something. You have 8 players, and then you have 2 substitutes in case somebody gets tired or they get injured or something.
Yeah.
Somebody can come in and replace them. And it has the total weight not going over the set limit for their category. Okay, so just like boxing or wrestling, you've got different weight categories, and I think the same applies to tug of war as well. You got a total weight of everybody. You don't weigh the individuals. Well, you do, but you add them all together, and then that weight cannot go over a set limit for that particular category. If the weight does go over that limit for the category, then it becomes a higher category. And I don't know quite offhand what those categories are called. Maybe lightweight, middleweight, welterweight, heavyweight, or whatever. Maybe they use the same terms as boxing. I'm not quite sure.
They might, yeah. Category is a word where you take different things that are similar and you put them in the same group. So it's a class or division of people, as Tom was saying. And those titles that you were just talking about that are used in boxing can be applied to other sports, but it's not fair if someone who's very big, strong, tall, has more muscles than somebody who's shorter and not quite as strong, that they would compete against each other. That's an unfair advantage, right? So they try to put the right people in the right categories so that there's not some unfair advantage as they start pulling. My question is, Tom, is that if you have a substitute, does that mean somebody blows a whistle, the referee blows a whistle and says, okay, you can substitute people, or do you have to substitute someone while you're pulling? I would be very curious about that. This has really gotten me curious just reading this article. I want to see how it's really done.
Well, I have to admit I'm not a big fan of tug of war. I did not really know it was a competitive sport. But as we're going to find out, there will be some championships held here in Taiwan in the near future, in 2026, I believe. So maybe I'll go check it out, and I might get excited. But yes, indeed, you have to coordinate movements. You have to match them with your other players. Sometimes, I suppose, your hands kind of slip on the rope, and you need to readjust. So all the other players will have to maybe pull harder so that you can move your hands to a different position or something like that. Or move your feet around or something like that to stand forward or stand sideways or whatever. So they need to match their movements with each other. You also have to maintain your balance. If you lose your balance, you're going to fall down and your team is going to lose and you'll be pulled into the mud. And you also need to use your body weight effectively. Maybe you can't lean back too far. You can't be standing too straight up. You need to use your weight to your advantage.
Yeah, when I've played it, I've never been standing straight up. You're always kind of leaning back. And if your foot slips out from underneath you, that's when you lose. Because you can no longer use your body weight to pull. You're just trying to get your balance again. So, yeah, maintaining your balance has to be probably one of the most important parts of this. So the winning team is the one that can pull the rope past a marked point. I mentioned this earlier. There's a point that's determined in advance, and the first team that pulls the player over that line from the other side wins. So you have to really work hard not to get near that point, and we're calling it a marked point. And there's a time limit, of course, because some games could go on forever, really, if the teams are matched closely in weight and also in strategy.
I remember sometime in the past there was some activity here in Taipei many years ago in which there was a tug-of-war game, and some people weren't careful and they actually had some arm injuries as a result, so you might want to be careful.
Ooh.
I think what they do here is they hang a flag in the middle of the rope and then they've got lines on either side of it, maybe a couple of feet in each direction, and if the flag goes over that line, then the team pulling wins the competition. That would be the marked point, but I believe there are two of them on either side. Now, in the 2024 World Indoor Tug-of-War Championships held in Sweden, Taiwan won an impressive 3 gold medals, demonstrating its dominance in various weight categories. So, of course, they got different kinds of competitions for different weights, different genders, and stuff like that. And these championships were held in Sweden. Of course, that's where Volvo comes from. And Stockholm, of course, is the main city there. IKEA comes from there as well. And they went to Sweden. They had some Swedish meatballs and things like that. What's that stinky fish dish? I can't remember what it's called.
I don't know, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't think I would like it either. But they won 3 gold medals there. That is quite impressive. And because they won those 3 gold medals, that demonstrated Taiwan's dominance in these different weight categories. So dominance just refers to when you dominate or you are better than somebody else. For example, usually in Olympic basketball, the Americans dominate the tournament. They usually win the gold medal because the NBA produces some great players that can play in the Olympics. And dominance is the noun, so you can display your dominance if you're really good at something and you can beat your opponents.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Moreover, here's some more information. Taiwan has secured the hosting right for the next championships that'll be held in 2026. So those are upcoming, as Tom said earlier. If you secure something, typically we use this verb to talk about fastening or fixing something to something else so that it can't be moved or lost. Maybe if you have a typhoon coming, you want to secure your windows so that you don't, lose anything out the windows and they don't break. You want to be prepared for that strong wind. Here, it just means you capture something, you're awarded it. Maybe you were kind of campaigning for it. Here, they probably were because a lot of countries like to have those hosting rights. They want to be the host so that other people can come and visit. And that country can benefit by making a lot of money through tourism, which is awesome. So that's going to be in 2026. And the games are going to be held in New Taipei City. We don't know for sure where, but it's going to be up here in the north.
Yeah, I so miss the days when it was Taipei Xian. Okay, I really miss those days. Now it's New Taipei City, which includes all those different towns together as one big city. You got Ruifang and Banqiao and Sanchong and Danshui. They're all part of the same city. But that's my opinion here, and it really doesn't have anything to do with our topic today. And these particular championships will be held in New Taipei City. So they could be in Xinzhuang, they could be in Banqiao. We need to look that up to tell you specifically where to go. I'm sure they'll make it very convenient for spectators to go check out these games. You can probably get to the venue by MRT, or perhaps they'll offer lots of parking there. And of course, if the national team from Taiwan is there competing, you better go there and show your support. Buy some t-shirts or whatever, wave flags or whatever to make sure the players on the team know you're supporting them, and it will psych them out and they'll be able to perform very well. Or psych them up, I should say. It promises to be an unforgettable event for both athletes and audiences alike. So that's certainly going to be guaranteed. It promises, which means it's going to be probably the chances are very high that these games will be very exciting for people to go check out. If you're an athlete, if you're competing in these games, you'll be very excited. And of course, if you're a member of the audience, you'll think it's pretty cool too.
Yeah, I just found out the women's team has won 4 consecutive gold medals. So they've done very, very well. So I'm sure the women are looking forward to this. The men's team has done well. They won the 2018 and 2020 championships. So this is going to be a fun time for all. There are going to be people from 30 countries coming. So that's something to put on your calendars, guys. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be in March, the 12th through the 15th in 2026. Right now, we're pretty much out of time. We're going to listen to our Chinese teacher one more time, and then we'll be back to say goodbye.
当然来到我们第3段就要谈谈拔河。现代拔河比赛规则就很严格啦，基本上就有8个选手，2个替补的组员，然后总体重也有一些规定，分别有不同的组别。重点是呢，在拔的时候其实是需要一些策略的，出现在第3段的第3句，我们这边特别注意一下。同样在第3句我们看到动词的 involve， 它也有包含什么什么，就是我们刚才第2段第1句所提到的。好，所以到底有什么样的 strategy 才能赢呢？动作要协调，平衡要保持，还要有效的运用体重。重点是在规定的时间之内，只要把绳索拉过标记点的这个队伍，就是赢的队伍了。那么在第3段最后一句的第4句的地方有限定用法的关系子句哦。先行词是 the one。The one 指的是 the team， 就是那一队，哪一队才赢呢？ That 到句尾左右挂号起来，也就是拔过标记点的那一队就赢了。那接下来我们看到最后一段提到，其实在去年2024年瑞典举行的这世界的拔河锦标赛当中啊，台湾就夺了3面金牌耶。那接着呢，台湾在2026年居然已经拿到我们锦标赛的主办权了，所以在2026年新北市会举办这个赛事。那我们说啊，第5题为什么答案会选 B 这个 hosting right 呢？其实跟下面这句话是有关系的。我们看到第4段第2句逗点之后的 which， 这个 which 指的就是前面的先行词2026的这个2026 championship 这个锦标赛。那因为 which 当中我们看到的动词是将会被举办，所以回过头来第5题我们看到的当然应该是我们拿到了一个 hosting right， 也就是主办权。所以这个世界的锦标赛呢，这个2026会在新北市所举办。这就是我们拔河在台湾啊，因为在这个去年我们拿到了3金之后呢， 整个在世界上的重量级的主导地位都在台湾，所以明年大家会很期待这个拔河，大家一起来支持哦。以上是我们今天的内容，我是安娜，我们下次见。
That is it for our lesson for today, and therefore you can start making some plans to secure some tickets to watch the Tug of War Championships, which will take place next year. You've got a year to reserve your tickets. I'm sure they will probably be very difficult to get, and they probably won't be cheap because Taiwan always does well at those games, and lots of people will want to go to show their support and go nuts and go crazy and have a great time and create lots of memory for everybody, lots of memories for everybody involved. Okay, that brings us to the end of our program for today. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
And I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.